That's Trey's speech. Got mine now. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, parents and faculty. I am deeply saddened to inform you all tonight that I will not be dropping the mic because it's attached to the podium, and that'd be a mess. And before I read this speech, I'm going to give some thanks to all the teachers who have supplemented me with the tools needed to learn and who always put up with my shenanigans. I thank you. It must have been very difficult. I'd also like to thank my creator, the one who put me on this earth, my mother. She has fought and beaten both cancer and multiple sclerosis while simultaneously raising my brothers and I. And judging by these weird sashes and tassels, and by all my brother's really cool mustaches, it appears she did a really good job. So thanks, Ma. All right, so here's a speech. An egg is hatching tonight. Even now, as I speak, all of us students are metaphorically pecking at the brittle shell of our youth. We've incubated long enough in this wonderful socialist institution that is free public school. And it is now time for us to waddle like penguins with their immense idealism into the cold world. But humans are very tribal creatures, and there's a strong inherent resistance to change. I think, however, that globalization may have evolved us past this trait. Rather than remaining in the confines of our cave-dwelling tribes or small towns, like Alma, we can now ramble about. Got a tassel in my mouth. We can now ramble about at super high speeds across the vast expanses of the earth in planes, trains, automobiles, boats, sneaky submarine boats, various hover and spacecraft, and those really fancy bicycles. Guys, it's the future. And the world is now an awfully small place. And the urge to stay home is now replaced by the urge to just explore. That's unquenchable. So, the huge tidal wave of change on our horizon shouldn't scare us. Things like accidental nuclear annihilation or mutant velociraptors brought back from extinction, or the exponentially increasing income inequality gap should scare us, but not change. Change is something we must embrace, even when it is hard. Sure, I'm gonna miss this place. I'll miss those life-changing DECA trips and the infinite wisdom of Sherry Seiler. I'll miss a lot of the fellow students that I've spent my entire life surrounded by, and as of this year, interrupting class to discuss Game of Thrones. And I'll also miss this incredible educational infrastructure that we're all in right now. It's a beautiful arena, all the amazing facilities, and excellent teachers. However, now, without further ado, I welcome you all to the hood. Adulthood. That wiggly world where we spend most of our lives. In the hood, we gotta be sure to continue to learn so that we remain productive and informed members of society who have the ability to participate in the democratic process without accidentally electing any more wacky zealots or silly climate change deniers. We also have to hold on to that magical, youthful idealism so that we don't ever become complacent and we continue to yearn for societal progress. The toughest part about the hood is trying to find meaning in this random placement of life. Luckily, we're all human, at least I think. And as humans, we possess the inherent ability to intrinsically think about such bold topics as the meaning of life. We also have the ability to communicate what we think through interaction with one another. These are exactly the characteristics that differentiate us from the inanimate. When rocks and boulders collide, there is no significant impact beyond the obvious physical forces at play, but the mind is malleable, and when humans interact with each other, they have the power to shape lives. The only way to generate meaning on this orbiting rock floating in the vastness of the universe is through human interaction. In this adulthood, we've got to love and treat equally every fellow human, regardless of race, sexual orientation, gender, or any other defining variance. And we must strive to find happiness. And here's 3 definite ways to do this. 1, embrace change. It's imminent. It is the motion that makes life observable, and it often yields progress. And 2, love all humans. And just in case anyone from the future is here to assassinate me tonight, I must also add, love all humanoid robots, cybernetic organisms, and extraterrestrials. And finally, 3, make me shut up so that we can get this graduation over with, leave this school forever, and begin real life. Thank you. Now, I'm proud to present part 2 of the Trey and Zach Speech-O-Rama 2015, Trey Dyer.
Before I begin, I'd just like to say, and I think many seniors here think the same thing, these things are the most annoying things I've ever experienced in my life. And I live with 4 brothers and a sister. Welcome, friends, family, and faculty, to the 2015 Alcoholics Anonymous oh no. I'm sorry. Wrong speech. Save that one for college. Welcome, friends, family, and faculty, to the graduation ceremony that many here have been longing for. Students have yearned to end the constant nagging from parents, and parents have looked forward to the day that their children will be forced to do their own laundry. These worldly bound seniors, many of whom are going off to college, will now be tasked with managing their time wisely, and a delicate balance of schoolwork, sleeping, and Netflix will be essential. And I promise, parents, that it will be okay. You can call anytime you please. Anytime you find one of our baby socks, anytime you stumble upon a picture of us stuffing our pre-adolescent tiny faces with a ridiculous amount of mashed potatoes, or anytime you suddenly think about our darling faces, you can call. Now, fathers, I'm not sure that any of this will apply to you. We know that you'll just be glad that we'll be working our way to paying our own phone bills. When I was told that I would have the opportunity to speak here today, a few thoughts raced through my head. 1, man, I hope my hair looks good. So the next was, no, silly, you're wearing a hat, you're fine. But the third was, what on earth am I going to say to you? What do I know that most of you do not? Calculus? I think you'd be wrong. A year of that, and I still have little clues to what I'm doing in there. No fault of Mrs. Sweeney, I'm just what you would call mathematically challenged. So what kind of advice could I give you? It would be about as useless as trying to tell Mitch Tillery to put his shirt down. Because that man's going to put his shirt down when he wants to put his shirt down. Now, seniors, I know you all get it, but parents, if you do get it, I'm sorry. I thought long and hard about this. I had plenty of time. Because every morning I, along with the band, sat waiting for the office to finish what I now assume is a roll call. The office calls down every other student here at Alma High School because I'm guessing they have information from parents to give to their children. So, while I have you parents here, it is 8:15 in the morning. What must you let your child know that you could not have told them 30 seconds before? Jimmy's granny baked him a pie. Can't let him go to chemistry without knowing that vital piece of information. William Ratcliffe, our band director, is retiring. This is his last year. If he had not retired this year, he would have died of a heart attack in class. Each gray hair on that man's head, and it is quite gray, represents each name called over the intercom. For all intents and purposes, you all effectively aged Bill Ratcliffe, bringing on retirement. Congratulations. When I told my dad several weeks ago that I could possibly do this, he didn't say much. I could see something in his eyes, though. He was proud, and he was happy. And that meant more than anything to me. The happiness he felt was the same happiness you feel when someone tells you they love you. It's the same happiness a football player feels after the touchdown, the same happiness a basketball player feels after the game-winning shot, the same happiness that a musician feels after landing on that final beautiful chord to end the piece. It's the same happiness that a dance team feels knowing they've won state, the happiness that a marching band feels after realizing that the blood, sweat, and tears that they put into the show has paid off. And I could go on, but they only let me up here for so long. This happiness here and there is the only thing driving us. The strum of a guitar, the sound of a final buzzer, the stroke of a pen. They all create the world around us. Over 7 billion people, all wanting, all seeking the heres and theres of happiness. Now, we have all heard of the nasty world that we are venturing off into, and we have been told of what horrific things await us in the future. But what kind of thing is that to tell young people as they head off into the world? And they wonder why so many of us don't make it, why so many of us develop problems, why so many of us resent the world that we live in. If you predict tomorrow will be the worst day of your life, chances are tomorrow will be pretty terrible. What I'm trying to say is we cannot afford to think like that. None of us can afford to think like that. Because our time on this rock in space is limited. And while we are here, we should make it count. Pursue your happiness and do what you can to help those around you along the way. Everyone needs a little help now and then. A man once told me, you can never make too many friends or help too many people. Those are the people who will help you one day, and that is how all of this works. That man's name was Trey Dyer, former Alma school superintendent, whose vision you are seated in now. I think I'll heed those words, and I hope you do too. Thank you.